Sham Sharadava Nalalita Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalita Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasa Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasa Vande Gurashi Charanara Mahaprabhu Ki Tananita Gita Vaditramadhyam Manasurasena Mahaprabhu Ki Tananita Gita Vaditramadhyam Manasurasena Romanchakam Pastru Taranga Bhajo Bande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Romanchakam Sutaranga Bhajo Bande Gurashi Charanara Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingaratanama Niramajanado Chuktasya bhaktamsa neyonjatopi Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado Satana Triptan Kritvaiva Tripte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Shiradikama Davayorapara Madhura Lila Gunarupanamna Shiradikama Davayorapara Madhura Lila Pratikshana Swa Dhanalopasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravinda Vande Gurashi Charanaravinda Ne kunjayo no rati kelisidai Jayali bhir yuktir apekshaneya Ne kunjayo no rati kelisidai Jayali bhir yuktir Tatrati dakya ativalabhasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Sakchadhari Dena Shamasta Shashri Ruktastatava Vyataiva Sadhuvi Kintu praborja priyavatasya Bande gurashi charanaravinda Bande gurashi Yasya prasada Bhagavat prasada Yasya prasadam nagati kutapi Yasya prasadam nagati kutapi Dhyayam stuvam tasya yasya trinsandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Jayam Vande Gurashi Charana Jayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatri Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Mine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatari Shatarine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatari Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Nityananda. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Jadavaya Namah, Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava, Radha Nila Madhava Radhe, Radha Nila Madhava, Radha Nila Madhava. Jayo Jagannath, Jayo Baladeva, Jayo Subhadrama, Jayo Sudarshan Chakra, Jayo Jagannath, Baladeva, Subhadrama, Jayo Jayo Sitaram, Jayo Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshmana Hanuman. Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Lakshmi Narasingha, Lakshmi Narasingha. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Haribo. Haribo, Nitai Gaura Premanande Jai Vishwapar Paramhansa Prabha Jakacharya Suttara Sarasi Srimad Vidwan Ke Samvatra Vina Bhakti Vedanta Sangmarashira Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Pratishtha Vividi Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Sirumani Pavan Shri Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Gauriya Guru Varanapati Gurudhar Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhadra Gunath Shri Guru Bhaktas Sapurushan Prabhu Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Anant Koti Vaishnavrind Ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री गदाधर शिवसरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय हे परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन के जना का प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिदानंद श्रीमन गौरांग श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि मावृनाय अवतार की जय गोलोक की जय प्रमदान हरि नाम संकीर्तन जग की जय जुग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय बृहद मृदंग ट्वेंस नाइन टू बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोकुल राधा कुंज समकुल गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय श्री ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन मथुराधाम की जय लॉर्ड शिव श्री राधा नीलमाधव की जय श्री मायापूर्ण भद्रिक चक्रधाम की जय परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथ धाम की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु भद्रदेव सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय जगंगा माई जमुना माई की जय तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय श्रीमती वरदारानी की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर हरि प्रमानंद all glories to some glories all glories to some glories all glories to some glories all glories Shri Guru Shri Gauranga Namaste Namaste Naya Pralada la da da hai Hiranyakashipu Vaksha Hiranyakashipu Vaksha Silatankana Kalahe Jaya Silatankana Kalahe Ito Nishinga Parato Nishinga Jato jato jami tato nisingam Vair nisingam Hrudaye nisingam Narasingamadim sharanam prapade Tabakara kamala bare nakam adabhuta singam dalita hiranyakashipu tanabringa kesavadrita narahari rupa jai jagadisha re Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re Tabakara Kamala Bare Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jayo Nishingade Jayo Nishingade Nishingade Jayo Nishingade Jayo Narahari Jayo Narahari Jayo Narahari Jayo Narahari Jaya Prahlad Mara Bhakta Prahlad Srila Prahlad Mara Nittai Gora Haribo 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 Nittai Gora Haribo Nittai Gora Jai Shri Bhakti Pada Sarvagna Kari Singare Bhagavan ki jai Jai Bhakta Shrestha Prahlad Maharaj ki jai Nittai Gora Hari Premanande Hari Hari Bo Shri Vrindai Tulasi Debai Priya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namo Vrindai Tulasi Debai Priya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namo Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namo Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Abhilashi Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Abhilashi Radha Krishna જે તો મારા શરણ લો તારા વંચા પૂરણ હો. કૃપા કોરી કરો તારે વૃંદાવન વાસી. મોરાએ અભિલાષ વિલાસ કુંજ દિયો વાસ. નયને હરિવો સદા જુગલ રૂપરાસી. એ નિવેદાના ધારો સાખીરાનું ગાતા કોરો. સેવાધિકારાદિએ કોરો નિજ દાસી. દીના કૃષ્ણ દાસે કોએ જીના મોરા હોય. શ્રી રાધા ગોવિંદા પ્રેમે સદા જીના ભાસી. શ્રી રાધા ગોવિંદા પ્રેમે સદા જીના ભાસી. સદા યેના ભાસી. યાની કાની ચ પાપાની બ્રહ્મહત્યાદિકાની ચ તાની તાની પ્રનાશન્તિ પ્રદક્ષિણા પદે પદે. यानी कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रनाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे. यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रनाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरे. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. जया तुलसी महारानी जया तुलसी महारानी जया तुलसी महारानी जया तुलसी महारानी जया वृंदा देवी जया वृंदा देवी जया वृंदा देवी जया वृंदा देवी नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल। श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय।
Krishna Bhakti Prabhupada Satavata Vrindaya Tulasi Devai Priyai Visara Satya Krishna Bhakti Prabhupada Satavata Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vindare. Oh Tulsi, beloved Krishna, but before you again and again, my desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of your wishes to feel, bestowing myself and making resident of it. My desire that also give me residence in pleasure grove to Shri Vrindavan. Thus within my vision and always behold the beauty, that's the Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a fellow damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own met servant. This very fallen and lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always sing love to Shri Radha and Govinda. Jai Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhyastakam ki jai. Chaito Mahajanam Bhavamādāvani Nivapanam Shri Akari Vachandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Patipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Vijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Vaudha Ija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Etadrushi Tava Kripaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishamya Janinanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amaninamana Kitaniya Sadahari Na dhanam na janam na sundarim Kavitam va jagarisha kamaye Mama janmani janmanishwari Bhavatar bhakti raituki tvai Ay nandatanuja kinkaram Patitamam visame bhavam buddho Kripaya tapapara pankaja Stitaduli sadrisham vichintaya Nayanam galorashtrudharaya Vadanam gada gada hridaya gira Pulakarjitam vapu kada Tavanama grahane bhavisati Jugaitam nimishena Chakyusha pravusaitam Sunyayitam jagat sarvam Govinda virahena me Asli shava padaratam pinastumam Adarshanar marmahatam karotuva Jata tathava vidadatulam pato Matpranatastu saivana paraha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhyastakam ki jai. Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gauri Tvishena. Namo Krishna Pradaya Krishna. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. They are not hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name, the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself Lord and strong in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause's devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet some or other I am falling in this ocean of birth and death. Please bring me out from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at the yellow of the street. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he sunders me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything. He is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally.
Namaste, Saraswati.
There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1.
To blaspheme the word, to dedicate life for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
2.
To consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to our independent names of
name
Lord
Lord Vishnu. 3.
To
Disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature and pursuance of Vedic version. 5.
To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna
to be imagination. 6.
To give
some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities in the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are often vetted as fruitive activity, karma kanda. 9. To strike the faithless person by the glories of holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter.
It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these offenses
in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisance to all Vaishnavas to worship the Lord.
They are just like desired trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpa Tribhuscha, Pipa Sindhu Bhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha, Vaishnava Thakur Ki Jai, Namo Vishnu Buddha, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutali, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Namaste, Saraswati Devi Guru Acharya Nirvisesa Sunyavali Paskatya Desatan. So since we're a little late today, we'll just go directly to the Srimad Bhagavatam, and hopefully this won't happen again. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse number 19. Vivakshor mukhato bhumno Vahnirvag vyahritam tayo Jale che tasya sukhiram Nirodha samajayata. Vivaksho, when there was a need to speak. Mukata, from the mouth. Bhumna, of the Supreme. Vani, fire or the controlling deity of fire. Vak, vibration. Vyahritam, speeches. Tayo, by both. Jale, in the water. Cha, however. Etasya, of all these. Suchiram, a very, very long time. Nirodha, suspension. Samajayata, did continue. Translation. When the Supreme desired to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity fire was generated from the mouth. But when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The peculiarity of the gradual development of the different senses is simultaneously supported by their controlling deities. It is to be understood, therefore, that the activities of the sense organs are controlled by the will of the Supreme. The senses are, so to speak, offering a license for the conditioned souls who are to use them properly under the control of the controlling deity deputed by the Supreme Lord. One who violates such controlling regulations has to be punished by degradation to a lower status of life. Consider, for example, the tongue and its controlling deity, Varuna. The tongue is meant for eating, and men, animals, and birds each have their different tastes because of different licenses. The taste of human beings and that of the swine, meaning pigs, are not on the same level. The controlling deity, however, awards or certifies a particular type of body when the particular living entity develops a taste in terms of different modes of nature. If the human being develops taste without discrimination, as does the swine, then the controlling deity is certainly certified for the next term to award him the body of a swine. The swine accepts any kind of foodstuff, including stools, and a human being who has developed such indiscriminate taste must be prepared for a degraded life in the next life. Such a life is also God's grace, because the conditioned soul desired a body like that for perfectly tasting a particular type of foodstuff. If a man gets the body of a swine, it must be considered the grace of the Lord, because the Lord awards the facility. After death, the next body is offered by superior control, not blindly. A human being, therefore, must be on his guard as to what sort of body he is going to have in the next life. An irresponsible life of indiscrimination is risky, and that is the declaration of all scriptures. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the Supreme desired to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity fire was generated from the mouth. But when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended. Gaur Premanandi Haribol. Now, we can understand by reading this that people and even the scientists, they have no understanding of what's going on in the universe and how it's going on and how it came about. They don't understand anything. Therefore, people are being taught to be irresponsible. They're taught to be irresponsible. You would think it would be the opposite, taught to be responsible. But no, they're taught to be irresponsible. Like, for example, there's this so-called famous guy named Robert Atkins. He was a doctor of medicine and a very, very, very intelligent guy, right? So-called intelligent, but actually he was a fool. And he developed a theory. Actually, he borrowed it from someone else. And that was that people could lose weight by by reducing almost to nil their consumption of carbohydrates and just eat fats and meat. Well, if you do that, you will lose some weight. Now, he, all his life, had a weight problem. And he used this diet to bring it down somewhat. But at first, no one believed his theory. They said, this is nonsense, you know. But then, over time, it became apparent that if someone does just go on a meat diet, they may be losing weight. So he became very famous. It took him 10 years after he wrote his first book about his theory. And it was not really his theory. Someone else had already experimented that. But anyway, he sort of took it over. And he became famous and very rich. So he ended up having a very expensive apartment in downtown Manhattan, and also a very expensive office where his company, and his company grew rather quickly, but after 10 years of publicity and so forth, it became significant, and he became very rich. Well, at the height of his success, he was 72 years old, and I think it was 2003. And he would get up in the morning, and he'd eat some meat and coffee or something, and then he would walk to his office from his penthouse in Manhattan. And on one cold, a little bit icy day in the wintertime in New York, he had his new Florsheim shoes. You know what Florsheim shoes are? Yeah, they're pretty expensive. And a nice suit and an overcoat. And he's walking, and you know, those Florsheim shoes, when they're brand new, like they're really they look really nice, but the bottom of the shoe is a little slippery. So he's walking, and he didn't notice some ice. He slips on the ice, falls backward, hits his head on the concrete walkway, and dies. He didn't die right away. They take him to the hospital, but then he died. He cracked his skull. Okay. Now, he gave at least another 25, 30, maybe 40 years to the meat industry. the meat industry was going down. And then he revived it with his Atkins diet. And people just started just eating meat, right, to lose weight. Now, when 1 year after he died, some information came out from doctors who had analyzed him, after he died, and they said he had severe heart problems. He was overweight, and he didn't really die because he cracked his skull. He died because of some kind of a heart attack, and he had a history of heart attacks. And they claimed that it was due to his diet of just eating meat. So his company people, they freaked out when this news was revealed, and then they tried to come up with other theories of why he died, and because they wanted to save their company, right? And so it worked for a little while, and then finally their company went bankrupt, and people stopped the Atkins diet. So here we see that it says, when the Supreme desired to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity, fire, was generated from the mouth. But when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended. So Atkins became famous by talking. And he talked up a big storm about his phony diet. And then his downfall was he was not careful, because I'm going to read something now that's very important. We can die at any second. Human being life there's no guarantee that we're going to have a long lifetime, because we're very, very susceptible to dying. So many things can go wrong with the body, so many things can go wrong due to other people, so many things can go wrong because of natural cataclysmic events. So therefore, we are like a drop of rainwater on the slippery leaf, right? So a little bit of wind, and that drop will fall off the leaf. So our existence in the material world is like that, no matter how much we try to be careful. Because you could be the most careful driver in the world, but a drunk driver could run into you and kill you, right? Or you could be the most careful person in the world, like Mr. Atkins, but just by walking to work, he falls down and kills himself, right? Okay, so in the there's a verse in the by Kapila Muni, and it says, Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yogena Yogina Shemaya Padamulam Me Pravis Sant Akuto Bayam. The yogis, equipped with transcendental knowledge and renunciation and engaged in devotional service for their eternal benefit, take shelter in my lotus feet, and since I am the Lord, they are thus eligible to enter into the kingdom of Godhead without fear. Now, this is a very, very, very significant verse, and the purport is absolutely amazing, so I want to read this. It says, one who wants to be liberated from the entanglement of this material world and go back home, back to Godhead, is actually a mystic yogi. The words explicitly used here are yuktena bhakti yogena. Those yogis or mystics who engage in devotional service are first-class yogis. They are described in Bhagavad Gita as constantly thinking of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Now, what was Atkins thinking about on his walk from his million dollar penthouse apartment in downtown Manhattan to his million dollar office. And the routine was you'd go there and make millions of dollars that day, right? What was he thinking about? He was definitely not thinking about Krishna, right? He was thinking about, it's another day, I'm going to make more money, and later on the night, I'm going to have some nice sense gratification and drink very expensive wine, and this thing and that thing. He was thinking all about everything, but he wasn't thinking, I'm going to die. Like one day I did this, I was invited to do a funeral, a Shraddha ceremony after someone had died, and now it was the funeral was already done, but then after 11 or 13 days we do the Shraddha ceremony. So I go, it was somewhere in Kent, and when I arrived at the house, I was walking up to the door, and I noticed that there was a little plot of garden, and it had just been shoveled, and the sod had been taken off, and it was made ready to plant. It wasn't a huge amount of earth, but it was although it was significant, and someone had really dug it deeply and turned it over and gotten rid of the grass and everything. And so I just noticed that because I do the same thing, right? And then I knocked on the door. I went inside, and they were all they were mostly Punjabis, and I did the program. And after the program, I said, "How did your father die?" And they said, "Oh well, a couple days ago, he wanted to plant a garden because he was a farmer in India, and he wanted to make a little garden. So he dug up the earth, and then that night he came in and he was tired and he took rest, and he died in his sleep. He had a heart attack." Now, did he know that he was going to die that night? No way. And he did this very strenuous activity of digging up the soil and getting rid of the sod or the grass on top of the soil, and getting it all ready to plant, right? And then he gets tired and he goes to sleep and he dies in his sleep. So this is how, let's say, precarious human life is. Well, look that word up, precarious, P-R-E, so forth. This is how precarious. Anyone can die at any time. And we are completely controlled by the laws of nature and the demigods who are acting on behalf of Krishna. There's no such thing as independence. What does that say, precarious?
It's not securely held or in position, dangerously likely to fall and collapse.
There you go. Very good word. So, here it says that these yogis are not without knowledge and renunciation. To become a bhakti yogi means to automatically attain knowledge and renunciation. That is the consequent result of bhakti yoga. In the Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, it is also confirmed that one who engages in devotional service of Vasudeva or Krishna has complete transcendental knowledge and renunciation, and there is no further explanation for these attainments. So Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Jnanayat Yasuvaira Jnanam Chayad Ahaitukam. Ahaitukam means there is no, it is the mercy of God. It's without any cause, any material cause. So when a person accepts to surrender to Krishna and be completely dependent on Krishna with firm faith, and they engage in devotional service, they develop naturally knowledge and renunciation. And in the next verse, the next sentence says, in the Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, it is also confirmed that one who engages in devotional service of Vasudeva or Krishna has complete transcendental knowledge and renunciation, And there's no further explanation for these attainments. It's not that they studied, it's not that they passed courses or they did this or they did that. It was simply because they surrendered to Krishna and engaged in regulated devotional service, which includes hearing the classes every day, once or twice a day. So, and one will naturally develop knowledge and renunciation by doing this. You don't have to study, you just have to listen with attention and reverence. So, ahaituki means without reason, these things come. Even if a person is completely illiterate, the transcendental knowledge of the scriptures is revealed unto him because of his devotion. So this is another verse. Tesam satati yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. One who engages in devotional service unflinchingly, is always thinking of the Lord and rendering all kinds of service, Krishna blesses them with knowledge. He gives them knowledge. Dadami buddhiyogam tam. Dadami means he gives. Buddhi, intelligence, and devotion, and keeps them in devotion. So, this is interesting. This is a different pedagogy, a different system of education. It's called revelation theology. Revelation theology. It is this knowledge, spiritual knowledge, is revealed because Krishna is in the heart. Okay, tell him to stop talking. Not only he's late he's talking yakety yak like a like a parrot or something. So we see that revelation theology is a different type of learning, and it's based on surrender to the Lord and regulating one's life, going to sleep early, waking up early, chanting one's rounds in the Brahma Muhurta period, and if you have some more extra time, reading, and then coming to Mangala Aarti and seeing the deities, bowing down to them, and doing Tulsi Aarti, and then hearing the class, and chanting, all these things, and then taking some prasadam. Now you're ready to face the world. You are vaccinated with transcendental knowledge, and you will be able to navigate through all the problems of life because Krishna is the captain of the ship. If Krishna is the captain of the ship, then you know you're going to reach your destination without any problems. And what is the destination? It's going back to Godhead in this lifetime. So, therefore it says, if there is a lack of knowledge and renunciation, it is to be understood that one is not engaged in full devotional service. The conclusion is that one cannot be sure of entrance into the spiritual realm in either the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence of the Lord or the Vaikuntha planets within that Brahman effulgence, unless he is surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. The surrendered souls are called akuto baya. They are doubtless and fearless. So akuto, they have no doubts, and baya, they have no fear. And their entrance into the spiritual kingdom is guaranteed. Devotional service is most important because there is danger in every step in this material world. So that's another verse. Padam padam yat vipadam natesam. From Srimad Bhagavatam. At any moment, our life can be finished. We may be walking along very nicely, like Dr. Atkins, right? But at some moment, we may slip and break our neck. Well, he broke his head, right? And but actually, the other doctors said he died of a heart attack. They could have saved him if he didn't have a heart condition, right? Therefore, this planet is called Martyaloka, the planet of death. the place where death is a certainty, regardless of how strong or healthy one may be. One cannot avoid death. So I read this one news thing that there was this man who was always working out in the gym, was taking all kinds of muscle building, abs building supplements, and he had a fantastic body, and he had great perseverance in sports and all this, and he dropped dead. In his prime, he dropped dead. He had, I don't know, I think the cause was he had a heart attack. Well, why do people have heart attacks? Let's ask that question. Heart attacks are the number one killer. Number two is cancer. And then, so why do people have heart attacks? Because, number one, they engage in sex, a lot of sex. Number two, they don't have good regulated, let's say, lifestyle. They stay up late, and they might be taking liquor or marijuana or things like that. So, in other words, they are breaking the four regulative principles. Now, are they eating meat? Well, they might even be a vegan. They can still die of a heart attack. But usually they're eating meat, they're engaged in illicit sex, they might be doing some gambling, and they're taking different types of intoxication. Okay, so there's no guarantee. That's what it's saying here. This planet is called Martya Loka, the place where death is a certainty. Regardless of how strong or healthy one may be, one cannot avoid death. One may exercise on the beach daily, but one may die at any moment. There you are. There is no guarantee. Everyone wants health and security, but actually there is no security. There is simply a struggle for existence. Karsati is the word in Sanskrit for the struggle for existence. Everyone's struggling because, first of all, everyone's competing for sense gratification. And they're competing for jobs, and they're competing this way and that way. And ultimately, we are all going to fail because of old age, disease, and death. But during life, it's just a struggle for existence always. There's always some problem. People are struggling for security, but in reality, this is all foolishness. People are always fearful because they have forgotten or rejected Krishna. So this is the reason why people suffer. They've forgotten their relationship with Krishna. And because of that, they're floundering. Or we are floundering in the material world, eating, sleeping, and mating and defending, and thinking that our purpose in life is to be an IT guy and start with a salary of $140,000. I asked this one devotee kid yesterday, I said, what do you want to be? He said, I want to be an IT guy. Right away he said that. I said, you sure? Yes, I'm sure. So his parents were not able to explain to him what the purpose of life is, right? But just by associating with the school, with the kids in the school, and so forth, and on the internet, on social media, he's convinced that he wants to be an IT guy. Right? So he could have said, well, I really want to be a devotee, and I'm learning to be a devotee now, and I might make my living by IT, but that's not my goal. This kid didn't even talk about, he's a devotee kid, right? He didn't even talk about what his goal is. His goal is to be an IT guy. That's it, right? So this is a failure of education of our own children, because we don't realize how dangerous these mundane schools are. They're extremely dangerous because they teach exactly that. Make money and have sense gratification. That's the goal of life. So people are always fearful because they have forgotten or rejected Krishna. We have forgotten that we are Krishna's eternal servants, his eternal parts and parcels, and that we have a most intimate relationship with him. In the material world, we are situated in asat, a non-permanent situation. When a child has lost his father and mother, he is always in a fearful condition. He cries in the street, "Where is my father? Where is my mother?" If we no longer want to be in such a fearful condition, we have to take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna is begging us to come to him because we are all his sons. He says, Krishna says, you are rotting here by repeatedly committing sins. You are changing from one body to another, and you are thinking that you are a human being, an American, or this or that. The next moment, you may become a dog or an insect. People are always thinking that they are secure, and this is called Maya, or illusion. There's no security in the material world. Knowledge, just like that one gentleman, father of devotee, he got run over he was on his motorbike or his bicycle just last week. He got run over by some crazy driver, and the driver ran away. That's the history. That's the daily occurrence in India. People run into someone, kill them, and they just run away as fast as they can. You are rotting here by repeatedly committing sins. You are changing from one body to another, and you are thinking that you are a human being, an American or this or that. The next moment, you may become a dog or an insect. People are always thinking that they are secure, and this is called Maya, or illusion. Knowledge, jnana, means understanding our relationship with Krishna. A wise man asks, what is my duty to Krishna or to God? Once we understand our relationship with Krishna and our duty to him, we naturally become reluctant to engage in material activities. This is called vairagya, detachment from material activities. Jnana and vairagya can be awakened by bhakti yoga. That's that verse. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Jnanayat Yasu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. First canto, second chapter, 7th verse. Very important verse. Jnana and vairagya can be awakened by bhakti yoga. Bhakti means surrender unto Krishna. Without surrendering to Krishna, we cannot understand our situation. Krishna reserves the right of not being exposed to fools and rascals. Well, he says that in Bhagavad Gita. Where does he say that? He says that in the Vedahams, Avajananti mam buddha manasim tanam asrita varam bhavam ajananto mamaya anuttamam. So that's the 7th chapter, is it? One second, let me just find it. Yeah, 7th chapter. No, it's the 9th chapter, right? Avajananti mam buddha manasim asrita param bhavam ajananto mamaya anuttamam.
There's also 725.
Yeah, 725. Well, Avajananti mam mudha means the mudas, the fools and rascals, do not know me, thinking that I was impersonal before and now I've become personal. 9/11, right, okay. Yes. So, fools deride me when I descended in human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So this lack of knowledge of Krishna is catastrophic because it means we will be a failure as a human being and probably take birth again in an animal life. So it says here that we cannot understand Krishna without becoming devotees. Material life means sex. People work hard all day in order to have a little sex at night. In the material world, everyone is suffering from the sharp arrow of Cupid, Madonna. Cupid. Oh, no, not Madonna. Madonna. Cupid shoots his arrow into men and women to make them mad after one another. However, when one actually sees Krishna, he sees Madana Mohana, the charmer of Cupid. Then one is no longer pierced by Cupid's arrow. This means that one actually becomes fearless. One can then enter into bhakti yoga and renounce this material world. So this becoming fearless, it's called abhayam, is very important, because someone who's afraid will not take any chance at all. My brother was like that when he was teaching me how to drive. So as soon as I turned the engine on, he said, "Now be careful, be very careful." I said, "Okay." And then I put it into gear. He said, "Be careful the way you do that." I said, "Okay, I'll be very careful." So he made me afraid. He made me fearful just by saying, "Watch out. He's got to be very careful." You know, he kept saying that over and over again, you know. And he said, "Oh, watch out. You almost hit that guy," you know. So, no, when you're fearless, then you are in control of what you're doing, right? Because you know what? You know that Krishna is going to protect you. And how does he protect you? He gives you the intelligence to make the right decisions. See? And what do we learn by coming to class on a regular basis? We learn to focus our attention on what we're doing. So there's a proverb in my language. It says, "Son, keep your attention on the food," right? Like nowadays, people like, I also do it sometimes, they're eating while they're looking at their cell phone. Or before the cell phone, they would be eating while they're looking at television, right? So that therefore there's a saying, you know, that pay attention to when you're eating, right? So yes, we should. If you ever saw Prabhupada eating, there are videos of him eating. He's completely focused on the prasadam as the mercy of Krishna. Completely focused. And he doesn't talk, he doesn't make a lot of noise or anything like that. He's just focused, because it's like chanting. Taking prasadam is like chanting your rounds. It's the same thing. You're focused completely on Krishna and Krishna's mercy. When a person is focused on Krishna's mercy 24 hours a day, they become a pure devotee. They become a pure devotee, because their mind cannot be taken off of Krishna. So it continues. According to the Shastras, there is Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas is the ultimate goal. We should act in such a way that ultimately we will become happy. However, if we want immediate happiness and disregard the future, we want prayas. Prayas is for unintelligent people and children. A child enjoys playing all day. He does not want to be sent to school to be educated. Education is Shreyas, the ultimate goal. No one is interested in this. The Shastras instruct us to aim for Shreyas and not be captivated by Prayas. The supreme Shreyas is Bhakti Yoga. Okay, tell him to keep quiet. My God, I don't understand why they yak. You're not supposed to talk when you're addressing the deities. You're supposed to focus. Just like we're supposed to focus on the prasadam when we eat, we're supposed to focus on the holy name when we chant. One is supposed to focus on the deities when they're addressing the deities. In the material world, we are struggling for existence with the hope that someday in the future we will be happy. Yet we are bewildered. An animal in the desert sees a mirage, a shadow of water, and he runs after this shadow again and again. He runs further and further, and in this way he crosses the hot sands. He becomes more and more thirsty, and he finally dies. So the animal saw a mirage of water in the desert. and it's a mirage. It's not real. It's an optical illusion. And he thinks, "Oh, I'm in the forest, but I see water in the desert. So let me walk toward that water in the desert, and he'll eventually die." And you'll see whole carcasses of animals in deserts, not far from a place where there was a forest, because they became fooled by the mirage. So in the same way, someone can be fooled by believing something that is not actually true. So one time in our restaurant, My Sweet Lord, when we had that free restaurant, one man came in, and he looked like he was really, like a homeless person. And we were talking. I was talking to him a little bit, and I said to him, "By the way, what's your goal in life?" He said, "My goal is to be a Microsoft employee." I said, "Really?" I said, "What are you doing to achieve your goal?" He said, "I'm smoking marijuana every day." I said, "Really?" I said, "How did you figure that one out?" He said, "Well, over 3/4 of the people who work in Microsoft smoke marijuana." I said, "Now I understand. But what's your guarantee that you will not be one of the 1/4, the 1/4 that don't smoke marijuana?" He said, No. He said, "If I smoke marijuana, I'll become a Microsoft engineer." So this was something that he believed, and he was putting it into action. Now, do you think he'll become a Microsoft? No way. Do you think 3/4 of the people who work at Microsoft smoke marijuana? No. So you see, people believe things that are not true, and they ruin their life. Okay, so we'll stop right there, and we'll finish this tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? Any questions? No questions? Okay. Then we'll have Guru Puja. Anybody want to sing?
श्री गुरु चरण पद्मा केवल भक्ति सद्मा।
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma।
बंद मुई सावधान माते,
Bando Mui Savadana Mate।
जहार प्रसादे भाई ए भव तोरिया जाय।
Janar Prasade Vai Eva Vatoriya Jai।
कृष्ण प्राप्ति होय जहाँ होइते,
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoye।
गुरु मुख पद्मा वाक्या चिते ते कोरिया ऐक्या।
Guru chitete koria
અરના કબરી તો મને આશા
ઓરન કોરિયા મને આશા
શ્રી ગુરુ ચરણે રતી ऐसे उत्तम गति
શ્રી ગુરુ ચરણે રતિ ऐसे उत्तम गति
जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा
એ પ્રસાદે પૂરે સર્વ આશા
चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
ચુદાન દિલજે જન્મે જન્મે પ્રભુ સે
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो
દિવ્ય જ્ઞાન દિવ્ય પ્રકાશિતો
प्रेमा भक्ति जहाँ होय ते अविद्या विनाशा जाय ते
એમાં ભક્તિ જહા હોય તે અવિદ્યા વિનાશ જતે
वेदे गाय जहाँ चरितो
વેદે ગાય જનર ચરિતો
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनर बंधु
ગુરુ કરુણા સિંધુ અતન જનર બંધુ
लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवाना
લોકેના લોકેર જીવાના
हाँ हाँ प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया
આ પ્રભુ પૂરા દયા દે અમોરે પદ છાયા
ए बेजाज गुशिक त्रिभुवना
હે વ્યાસ શક્તિ ભુવાના
शीला प्रभुपाद पतित पवना
પ્રભુપાદ પતિત પવના
जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा
જય પ્રભુપદ જય પ્રભુપદ જય પ્રભુપદ જય પ્રભુપદ
जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा
જય ગુરુદેવા જય ગુરુદેવા જય ગુરુદેવા જય ગુરુદેવા
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी
સ્વામી નિધિ નામિને
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे
નમસ્તે સરસ્વતી દેવે ગૌરવાની પ્રચારિણે નિર્વિશેષ શૂન્યવાદી પશ્ચાત્યાદેશતારિણે
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तरिंदा
કૃષ્ણ ચેતન
चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय श्री भगवान महाराज की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस Parivajigacharya Astatara Satarashi Shri Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai Ram Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhan ki jai Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai Shri Mayapura Dham ki jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai Tulasi Devi ki jai Bhakti Devi ki jai Ganga Maya ki jai Jamuna Maya ki jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai Nitai Gaura Premananda. All glories to assembled, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavani ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Maharaj. Skatya Dusatani. Jai. The Lotus Feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus feet. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master, ocean of mercy, friend of the poor, and Lord and Master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad. Namaste.